Wednesday, March the 10th. It's going to be 15 degrees here in central Ontario. I'm so excited. You gotta know I'm excited when I've brought an extra table to handle all the cards and all the stuff I have to bring you today. So I just want to do a little housekeeping and some thank yous before we start. Our community here is getting involved in these readings. First and foremost, I'd like to send a shout out to my friend Dean Taylor. So much gratitude and thanks to you for sending some support to us for this channel and these endeavors. It speaks to my heart that you would do that. Thank you to Ian Sutherland for gathering some stuff to talk about in terms of rituals. Thanks to Denise, I want you to know I have my crystals in my bun, that connect me to the mothership on Maldeck, and I thought it would be nice for people to know that as a Midequa and an artist, you are helping us with you're my illustrator for the tarot that Denise and I are doing, and I'm so excited about this tarot. It's 108 cards, and it's all the ancestors. It's in a traditional tarot format plus, so there's more to it. It's more in the original Egyptian model, the ancient Egyptian concept, and we'll get into that in a different video. But thank you, Denise, for your help. I'd like to mention Monica Baderski. She's a witch from Toronto and an artist, and I just got her beautiful casting cloth. So that was one of the reasons for the table today. If you don't know, Monica is the artist creator of the Shadowland Tarot here. So that deck, excuse me, I have to fire up my wheelchair chariot here to move. Monica created these cards, and I love them. So the cards are reflected, or the symbology is continuous on her cloth. Lovely, lovely. Check her out. I'll put a link to Monica in the notes. And thanks to Jillian Wild out in Vancouver. She's the creator of the Naked Heart Tarot. She's doing good things for us here. And I think that's all the thank yous, other than to my lovely husband and partner in crime, Brian, for making this magic happen for YouTube. So the other change it up for today, I've got my Dracula pencil, that's always good, is I've got some different decks to work with today before I get into the medicine wheel and what we're doing. I wanted to talk to you about an Ogham deck. Ogham is the ancient Celtic language, the Irish language specifically, and it relates to 25 runic symbols. So if you know Viking runes and the Phatoric runes, you will recognize the symbols of the ancient Irish language. But as many ancient earth-based savvy peoples did, each of the 25 letters of the Ogham alphabet has a tree associated with it. And I happened upon a deck that wasn't just Ogham, but has the tree angels. With this fastly advancing spring and the waking of the trees, I feel their energy tremendously. We have these massive birches in the yard that speak to me, and a blue spruce in the front whose energy I adore. But the energy of the trees is calling, and they had messages for us. So that's a different deck. I've never used that deck in a reading. I'm using an astrological deck for the second time. this week, the Arcana Astrology. And I've pulled out the Round Indigenous Tarot. Another deck I'm using for the first time this week goes back to Melody, the Love is in the Earth crystal lady. And she issued a deck. I've never used her crystal tarot, but a lot of people write after we produce these videos and ask about the crystals, and I forget sometimes to mention the crystals. So we've got a lot of new things today, and I want to remind you that when people have a private reading with me, when we're channeling and using cards, I go into much greater depth because we have 90 minutes to 2 hours to do that. I'm trying to get this all done in about 20-25 minutes. So I put together the overarching story rather than focus too much on the individual cards. And that's important for you to know because it's just the way it is in the constraints of time. And for Ruth, Marg, Jill, Kathy, Wendy, and Sharon, I've got some discussion today of some rituals for this new and the full moon coming. So let's get into this new moon. We're going to switch over here to the big chart. Always got to deal with this big chart. Now, get my bear claws, my bare foot. So we're starting into the fourth moon cycle of this year, right here. If I flatten this, I'm covering up the fact that we're just almost on spring equinox. So our current fourth moon comes in on let me see, 10:30 p.m. April 11th. So there we go. Now, this grandmother looks far woman. She is the seer, the oracle, the dreamer, the prophet, the keeper of the golden door, and the crack in the universe, the crack through which shaman move in and out, from the tonal, where everything is named, to the nagual, which is into the great mystery, the consciousness, and that's where we manifest. Our thoughts manifest our reality. She is the mother of visions, dreams, and psychic impressions, the guardian of the dream time, and the keeper of inner potential. She teaches us how to understand our visions, dreams, feelings, and impressions, how to enter the dream time, to go into the other realms and through the crack in the universe, how to properly use our psychic abilities and gifts of prophecy for humanity, how to use spiritual boundaries, psychic self-defense, and respect those boundaries in others. She teaches us how to use our inner potential to become healed healers. She teaches us how to see the truth. So we're moving through this. So her time is tomorrow night, Thursday at 10:59, did I say? Sorry, 10:30 p.m. And it's just a very few days to spring equinox, which is 5:37 a.m. on March 20th. So, getting that out of the way, the typical time for fourth moon cycle is from the 13th of March. So we're in here still a little bit early. It's called the planting time moon cycle. So initially we are not necessarily planting outdoors in this latitude and longitude, but we're starting our seedlings. One elder I know talked about getting seedlings started with full moon in February indoors for tobacco, specifically for sacred tobacco, and possibly sage, because you want them up and out and sturdy and not leggy, not too soon or too hard growing into the light. You need to have time with these plants that are wind sensitive to be able to take them outside for little pockets of time as you get them hardy. The dotem animals and the clan animals typically for this cycle, the dotem is owl and the clan is bear. We are switching from great white buffalo in the north to eagle in the east. If you were to make a ribbon shirt, if you're born in this fourth moon cycle, it's green and pink are the ribbons. The chakra that we're dealing with is the root chakra. That's not meant to be a play on words because things are rooting. This is the foundation of the beginning of the growing cycle. We need to be very grounded right now as we get out of the hibernation of winter and not think like a drunken bear just going out for that food, thank you, like the woozy, not drunken, but the woozy bear who's just going for it on instinct and maybe making a bad choice. Dandelion, we will begin to see them by the end of this moon cycle. That is the healing plant. It's very much about the physical body. It's very much about earth energy. So that's the element for this moon cycle. And people are always asking about crystals. Well, we're looking at the trigonal crystal system. We're looking at reds, blacks, and green crystals for the activating colors, the balancing colors, and the complementary colors. So you've got things like ruby, ruby aura, bloodstone, hematite, riverstone, onyx, certain jaspers. The green stones, you can get into the aventurines, and chrysoprase is my number one dominant heart-centered stone. You want to be grounded, and you want that energy to come up from the earth into your heart space. I'm going to write some more about stones, and I think what I'm going to do, because of the length of this, is actually put information in our blog. So I'm going to have Brian reference the blog, so I'm going to be able to expand on some of the discussion here. And that's on Blogger. I've run this blog for something like 15 years since we lived on the farm in Durham, for those of you who remember the llamas and the animals, the rescue animals there, the horses and the donkey. Some of you had a butt bite from Juju. These animals would be so happy if we still had them. They'd be happy that it's spring and they're getting out. So Dracula and I need to move Dracula. We need to get into the cards now. So I'm going to have Brian shift so that we can look at the cards that are pertinent to this cycle. I even pulled out some Merkaba when I was getting ready for today. The Merkaba is a body that's upwards of 55 feet on either side of our auric field. It's an ascension concept. Ascension concepts have been coming up a lot in other healers' readings, like Kyle Gray. Serapis Bey was an entity that came up, and he's very much about ascension. So the Merkaba was something, these pendulums I used to pull cards and connect with spirit. Okay, so I looked at starting, because we're just coming out of the north. I'm starting in the north today, and here we go. Squirrels are waking up. We have lovely squirrel. The Four of Pentacles. So we need to rejoice in the foundation, we can relish that which we've accomplished. Pentacles is about commodity and living in the earth, our day-to-day human lives. So we can feel stable. We don't have to be panicked that, we're all losing our jobs. We are being asked by Squirrel to be resourceful and go after things which shift us. Perhaps our jobs shift. Perhaps our location is going to shift. But Squirrel is very much about hoarding as well, but he's in the upright position, or she or he is in the upright position today. So we just need to be satisfied that we're doing the right thing about protecting our physical life. This isn't necessarily about money and wealth. The second card that came up kind of took me aback. So this is in the East position. This is Buffalo. This is the Spirit of Pentacles, another Pentacles card. And Spirit, this is Buffalo. Buffalo is the same as King. This Spirit of Pentacles, the Spirit card in the Naked Truth, or the Naked Heart deck is the King. So Spirit is King, but he's in reverse. So he's warning us not to be rash, judgmental, and make weird decisions, inappropriate decisions about our foundation, about our life on earth here, about what we're doing and where we're going. It's interesting because if you follow me on Facebook, you'll notice that I shared something about pipe and smoke prayers this morning, and it's how to be Wonkan. Wonkan is another name in the Southwest for buffalo. Wakan Tonka. Tonka is buffalo. So the spirit here, this struck me when that card came up, because it's about, again, not doing anything bullheaded or weird. Stay focused, stay calm, and stay centered. When we do that, we get the Spirit of Cups, or water. This is the King of water. So we are then in control of our emotions by summer. We are able to move forward in a balanced emotional way. We are in control of our emotions. Excuse me. Because this is an in control, out of control. South of the wheel is in control, out of control. Spirit is guiding us not to be like this pendulum and swing from extremes. Do not do that. That's the warning here, is be mindful, staying mindful. The urge, like our animals used to do, is they want to just get the hell out of the barn and get in the field, and whoopee. As COVID is coming to an end, the message I got this morning, as we are getting our inoculations, that doesn't mean we stop wearing masks and we stop social distancing, because we can still be a carrier. And the majority of our people are not inoculated yet. Many of us have had one inoculation and not the second. So don't be erratic and too soon in your movement, or it's going to slow us down. And we have another Pentacles card, the Eight of Pentacles. So this is Beaver, busy Beaver, learning his trade, but today he's in the reverse. So the caution, keep focused, keep your eye on the prize. Dogged determination will win out, but don't go off on tangents and don't get distracted. The wisdom cards, no, they're telling me to do Ogam. Okay, so these are the Ogam cards, the Celtic, or I should say the Irish ancient language. So this angel is the angel of pear. And the pear tree is about the sweetness of life. Ancient pear trees were bitter, the fruit was small, and it didn't take very long for the growers to learn how to hybridize it and make it a sweet life. And that's what this card is telling us. The angel of the overarching angel of the pear tree is saying, keep it sweet, keep it balanced. Don't get bitter. Don't be in the past. Enjoy what you have now. Don't be worried about losses. Don't be worried about the change that it's taking to make life sweet. Blackthorn is about an abrupt change, and again about knowing that you have guidance, that you have connection. So this is the angel of the blackthorn tree. I won't get into that card in depth here. I will do a little bit more on the blog. Sorry, that's blackthorn. If I said hawthorn, I meant blackthorn. Because the last Ogum card is hawthorn. Hawthorn is about balancing the rhythm of the heart. So if you take the hawthorn supplement, like I do every night, it brings down your blood pressure. But it's about finding balance between the masculine and the feminine, the yin and the yang, the shadow aspects and the conscious aspects. And that's interesting because one of the decks that Spirit had me pull today was one that I don't use very often. And this is the one by Shaheen Miro. And it's the Lunar Nomad Oracle. It's one of the first Lenormand decks that I ever used. And I thank Teresa Slowinski for making me take a better scholarly look at this. However, the three cards I pulled, and you typically read Lenormand as a sequence. A child, which is innocence. In some instances it is actually a child. So the question I was asking is, how do we approach the spring? With the innocence of a child, knowing we've got dog. Dog is a protector and assistance. And clover is luck and bounty. And of course we're going to see clover in our lawns and things soon. So this is a very positive way to approach with the innocence of a child. Like the Buddhists say, with beginner mind. So this isn't the same spring we've always had. But we do have the connection to spirit, and we can't forget that. When we forget that, this card is right beside Buffalo in this position. We lose the ability. We will make rash decisions. If we sit in contemplation, we won't make rash decisions. Back over to the astrology side of this table. My goodness. So I have Leo, which is in from July 20th-ish of July to August. The last week of July, I have Gemini, which is typically in June into July, and I have the planet Ceres. So Gemini is the twins, Leo is the lion. It's telling us about having a buddy, having assistance. Again, it's very much like this card. Moving into the summer. So Leo representing sort of late summer, July into August. But Leo, we had the lion card last time, I do believe. Leo is very much about taking it and running. It's also the same energy of the strength card in the major arcana. So I will again talk more about this on the blog, but just know that this is telling us things are building. If we use the buddy system, buddying up, not just with an earthly partner or friends or community support, because that isn't literally just one person, it also represents spirit. So we have a lot of spirit cards. Then they're connecting with each other in a beautiful way again this week. I pulled Ancestor Cards, and I got Be in the Here and Now, and this will allow the transformation, the growth. You see a baby hand growing into a youth hand, growing into an adult hand. We are growing into, everything in the spring grows from infancy. We have the North card, which is, again, transformation. So we have 2 transformation cards followed by a stillness card. So this is interesting. We're being asked to remain in the here and now. We are asked to find stillness in the east and not go wacky as we jump out of the barn like Lucky and Jujube and Mabel. We have the positivity, if we stay focused and remember our connection to Source, that with a beginner mind, and it's going to be quite lucky. The cards that I will discuss also on the blog include the Millennium card. This is the last card of the major arcana in this deck by Melody. This next one is another King card, the King of Crystal Wands. So this is the King of the Energy Center. You need to remain skeptical and calm. It represents the surprising and possibly astonishing, possibly unstable, unique character of the events of the spring. That's what this is talking about. And the final major arcana card, or it's not a major arcana card, it's a face card, court card, is the Queen of Crystal Lasers. So since this is such a unique deck to my readings, I'm going to go into it in the blog. But this is, she represents the necessity for forethought, clear thinking, pre-planning, sensibility, and caution when you are preparing for action. She's got a book and her crystals, and it's a learned card. And she is advising for people to accept assistance from those you may not think you're compatible with. You need to surprise yourself and recognize that perhaps what you thought about another person, organization, thing actually was a bias, and it's going to end up in a very unanticipated, unforeseen, positive, almost loving thing in your life. To help myself be stable here in this, I got the 4 of Thunderbirds, the Ace of Frogs. We're going to start to hear those peepers soon. I got the Queen of Butterflies, so that's an air card. Queen of Butterflies is basically the same card as we pulled from that. And again, the 4 of Butterflies. So stability. 4s are stable. 4s are good. 4 of Thunderbirds, 4 of Butterflies, Queen of Butterflies, Ace of Frogs. And I'll elaborate a bit more on this. But you've got the bare bones of this here. The basics. We've got the basics covered. Now I want to take some time to talk about rituals. Alrighty, so some things that you can be preparing between now and when we do the extravaganza of the full moon video on the 28th. That will come out. It's time to go and gather some birch bark. In Anishinaabeg culture, birch bark was used for special Medewin scrolls. We write on it. If you've been to ceremony here, you know that we use the birch bark in bundles, and for giving thanks, we end and start classes. As it gets a little bit closer to the the next full moon, you need to gather some cedar. Cedar will be taking in its energy now, and it needs to be green cedar. It can be swamp cedar, but always when you take from the trees, you spend a moment and connect with your heart. So you breathe 4 breaths into your heart and out to the tree. So you breathe in, left hand on the heart, because this is the receptive cardiac meridian. The energy flows in our field this way. So we had a little bit of a card problem, and I hope it's recording. So I was talking about when you gather from the forest, it's one thing to pick up a fallen pine cone or a fallen feather. Again, if you find those, gather feathers and fallen cones, evergreen cones. But when you're taking something from the tree, you're literally cutting into it. So you need to do the prayer, and I was speaking to it of an energy exchange. So you breathe, put as if the breath is coming in to your heart and you're breathing it out, and touch the tree and thank it. Thank it for its wisdom, get its message, whatever, but put down some offering. Now in our culture we would put down sema or sacred tobacco. If you don't have that, put down some sage. It's very simple. Put down berries, because we're close to spring equinox. You could put down some berries, blueberries, strawberries, that sort of thing. They can be frozen from the grocery store since they're not growing right now, but they need to be blessed. And so it's a gift to the tree. You're not just taking. If you see birch peeling on a tree, that's the birch you take. You don't cut the skin of the birch and peel it. Go find a birch. Owenda Park up here if you're local, or the Saugeen Forest, but find an area where you can walk. If you're down south along by the Milton area, sort of Campbellville area, there's Crawford Lake, and if the park is open, they have some exquisite birch trees in there. Just be careful where you're taking from. Anyway, so we are gathering birch for full moon. We are gathering cedar. We're going to have a special jar of moon water, and this is moon water that you want to get water that does not have chlorine in it. So if you're in a city and you've got chlorinated water, it's better if the water hasn't been aerated. So if you have a friend with a well, with a farm, that kind of thing, get that water. If you can't find it anywhere, you're in the city, get a bottle of spring water. Whatever you can get that just doesn't have chlorine. Distilled water is kind of dead. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about spring water. You want to have a jar like this jar or a mason jar. These jars actually breathe, which is fine. But so I said 10:30 was the time of the new moon. Let me just check the time of the full moon so I can give you a starting date. So the full moon is March 28th at 2:48 p.m. So sometime on the Saturday, that's a Sunday, and the Saturday morning of the 27th, you want to be filling your jar with this non-chlorinated water. You want to set it in a window. And here's where you get some of the crystals that I mentioned. Make sure you have a good quartz crystal for this. I've got one full of silicates. So you're going to put your crystals on and around this jar. So butting up against the jar, here's some phrenite. We've got a small crystal here. Here's another one full of silicates. Put that on that side. It's touching the glass. I've got let me see. I've got a lovely amethyst. I'm going to put that over here. Doesn't matter how many crystals. It matters that you have either doused them, if you know how to douse, if you've taken our dowsing class, if you know that this is the correct bunch, take it from the list that I shared earlier in the video. That's fine too. But what you're doing is you're making moon water here. So this jar has to sit in the window full of water, recognizing that some of it's going to evaporate from the period between Saturday morning until Monday morning, or Monday early afternoon at the latest. That's water. You need a volume of it enough to do ceremonies throughout the rest of the month as we move then from full moon into the next new moon, the 5th moon. So that's one thing you do. I mentioned collecting feathers, cones, things. This is when I want you to start pulling out that single earring that you've kept in your jewelry box since you were 9 because you lost the other one swimming, but you couldn't bear to part with the singleton earring. I want you to have a piece of cotton, rayon, silk, linen, some kind of natural fiber cloth that you can lay out. I'd like you, if you have a pendulum, to pull that pendulum together. And we're going to do some ritual ceremonies. I will focus less on the cards. Why am I doing it this way? I'm only going to pull probably 4 cards, and they're going to be from the shamanic deck. Because this is a perigee full moon coming up on the 28th. That means the moon is the closest to the earth it can be, and it's one of the first times this year. So it's huge, 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 huge. It's the first full moon of spring. It's an amazing time, and I'm going to work you through some shamanic rituals relating to that. So we're going to be focusing less on the prescription or predictive aspects with the cards. I prefer to think of them as prescriptive because you have free will choice. And we're going to be focusing on rituals. And for Marg, Ruth, Jill, Wendy, Kathy, the gang, we're going to be doing some separate rituals. So this is an important time with this gathering energy. We are building energy to huge healing with the moon water, and I'll tell you later what we're doing with the moon water on the 28th. But have these things at hand. Make sure you have pen or pencil, something of that nature that you can mark on the birch bark. We're going to be writing. We're going to be doing ceremony together on the 28th. And it's just so important, okay? I'd like to thank you all for participating in this rather chopped up video, but you know, technology is what technology is. And thank you, and have a blessed new moon with looks for a woman, because she wants us all to be psychic. Okay? Miigwech.